Sorry, apologies, Stan. I was on mute and my video was was not rolling. I apologize for that. But thanks, Stan, for holding a bit of a Q&A for the audience as we have this transition from the Innovators Showcase to the next part of the Women's Health Tech track that we have for today. Normally, what we do is that we have what's called the Women's Health Tech Wednesday segment every week, where we invite a member of the HITLAB community who's either a female founder or an entrepreneur or a leader within any of the digital health or pharma spaces to share with us the journey that they've undertaken and what they are currently doing right now in the healthcare realm and the digital health space, and to give some insight into what they're seeing right now in terms of trends, or give advice to some of the entrepreneurs who are finding their way in this current environment for women's health tech. We have a special one today. Unfortunately, our usual host, Nina Joshi, is away, so she can't actually make it. But we have a special segment today in lieu of her not being in. So our Women's Health Tech Wednesday half an hour comes to us via Organon, and the three founders who you may have had the pleasure of seeing at the last virtual digital health virtual symposium in October, where we focused on digital health and human rights. And joining us today, we have three of the founders from the Middle East and North Africa region challenge that Organon had supported, I think a couple of months ago, to share with you their journeys and to let you know what they're currently doing in the space. And Farouk from Organon will be moderating this panel of these wonderful leaders in this area of the world. So Farouk, I'm going to hand over to you to kick off this panel discussion for our Women's Health Tech Wednesday at HITLAB. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jerry. Can you all hear me well?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, great. So hello to all. I'm the moderator for this session. My name is Farouk Shamasjiwa. I lead the Policy Communications and Market Access team for the Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey cluster at Organon & Co. In case you haven't heard of Organon, we are a women's health company who are here for her health. We envision a better and healthier every day for every woman around the world. As Jerry mentioned, we were quite involved with the Flat 6 Lab partnership, and I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled, to have our three finalists here with us today. Today's discussion, in my mind, is one of the most important discussions of our lifetime, because we are talking about the health of half of the world's population. We're going to be talking about that discussion within the context of the Middle East, North Africa region. And we will in particular address the role of female-led health technology startups, or femtechs, in advancing women's health and their attributes and solutions that they bring. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with the three of you. Doreen, I'll start with you. Please introduce yourself in 2 minutes and tell us a little bit about the startups you represent. So Doreen, you go first, please.
Thank you, Farouk. It's always a pleasure to be back here with Organon and with HITLAB. We really enjoyed the panel last time. So a little bit about me. I'm from Beirut. I'm a human-centered designer, and I'm the founder and CEO of Oh My Gyno. And Oh My Gyno is really a project that addresses conservative societies, and it focuses on female sexual, reproductive, and menstrual health. As we know that there's a lot of inaccess that is caused actually by stigma, and this creates a barrier for people to be able to take care of their sexual health in the Middle East, especially if they're women. So our solution is by building a community and providing the information about sexual health, because many of these people do not receive sex education in school. And in order for us to support them throughout their journeys by offering at-home gynecology testing, so self-sampling, that is sent as a kit to their home, where they take their own sample, which is sent to a lab that gets actually diagnosed and sent to them as an encrypted email. And we give them access to a network of doctors that are progressive and open-minded, that are recommended by the community and vetted by us.
Thank you, Doreen. I think you hit 2 minutes on the spot. Yasmine, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Farouk, and glad to be part of HITLAB's Innovators Summit, and very happy to be joining you again, Sandra and Doreen. My name is Yasmine Mouallem. I'm an international board certified lactation consultant, a breastfeeding counselor, a mental health first aider, and I'm the founder of Maternally, which is an online platform that caters to women's mental health needs during their motherhood journey. It provides women access to healthcare providers, resources, and self-care material will be evidence-based, reliable, and up-to-date. And in addition to that, Maternally will be having a community for social support.
Thank you, Yasmine. Sandra.
So hi, also a pleasure to be with you. My name is Sandra Salameh. I'm Lebanese. I'm a computer engineer. I've been working in IT for the past 20 years. And I went through a personal story struggling between being a tech executive, a mom, and a wife. And this led me to found Sira, an online mental health platform, a safe space that aims to normalize and democratize mental health. So on Sira, we focus on 2 pillars, the collective. So we do a lot of group sessions, roundtables, a lot of group discussions where we let people know that they're not alone in their struggle, as well as education. So we raise a lot of awareness on different mental health issues related to couples, parenting, individual and work struggles. Our aim is to shift the conversation from a diagnostic one into really human right and everyday struggles and support everybody out there.
Perfect. Thank you, Sandra. And thank you to the 3 of you. We're going to dive right in. Jerry, just keep me honest on the timing. I'll do my best. So my first question is to Doreen. What do you think is the greatest barrier to addressing women's health and needs in the Middle East, North Africa region?
I would definitely say that the biggest barrier is still definitely a cultural one. I mean, women have had, it is a patriarchal society. There's no way around that. And we know that for a lot of reasons, women have actually been not really given all the opportunities and the rights that they really deserve. But this is also really changing. And what we're doing right now, the main barriers that we realize, at least from the perspective of women, is a lack of education. So this is something that we're trying to push more, because we realize that in order for our projects to work, women need to be more educated about their bodies and also to have agency over themselves so that they could start making decisions also. So we realize that this is one of the first gaps that we're trying to breach. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities right now because women have never really been listened to before. And finally, we have the opportunity as an industry of femtech and female-led entrepreneurs like us who are finally listening to them and designing for them, basically.
Thanks, Doreen. You mentioned barriers, and what is like education? What do these barriers represent opportunities, and what other barriers could represent opportunities for startups, femtech? Such as yourselves?
Absolutely. For me, every barrier is an opportunity. I'm a designer, I'm a problem solver. So I always look for problems to solve, right? And these barriers are cultural. So it's something that you can work with by educating, and the internet and social media really helps in this nowadays. Information is no longer constricted into very specific places. So you can reach people from all forms of lives and show that this kind of work is actually creating a lot of impact, a lot of positive impact down the line. So yes, it is a change of behavior and a change of mindsets, but it's worth doing. And it can be done in much shorter time than what people originally believed.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. My next question is to you, Sandra. As an entrepreneur, what do you think are the greatest challenges that female founders face in developing their digital health solution?
Yeah, well, I would say top 3 are first funding. Yeah, so already our part of the world gets a very small portion of funding, global funding for startups, and a tiny part of that already tiny funding goes to women. Unfortunately, most of the VCs are still led today by, their boards are mostly led by men, and then as a female founder, you get the question of the risk question of how are you going to build a company while having kids, while your male counterpart will get the question of what if you get hit by a bus, what will happen to the company? So you see the different risks that they take into consideration. So funding is a big challenge for us, and this is something that is changing. The second thing I would say, support, and this is where HITLAB and Organon and all the community around us are expected to, you know, promote and try as much as possible to support through accelerator programs, programs that cater specifically for women, that understand what is needed, the gap in upskilling women to manage companies, the gap in breaking this stigma around female founders, female managers, and female leaders. This is really an uphill battle. And I would say the third is also females believing in themselves. So that's more on the cultural, because as females, we tend to think, you know, what am I going to sacrifice to be able to lead this company? Am I sacrificing my family, my personal life? There's so much at stake. A lot of us grow up believing that, you know, we can't lead companies. It's more of it's more of a man's role, and we are there to support or to be in the shadow. So there's a lot of work also on the personal front. So I think those top three, I think those are the main ones. And as Stan,
please,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yes, I was saying, as Stan, I heard a bit of what Stan was saying today. Really, support is key. It's crucial to really support not just female founders, but this whole femtech industry. It's in high need of support at all levels.
So I just wanted to share a couple of factoids because I think it's relevant to what you said. It was a report published by Femtech Analytics in Q4 2021, the femtech industry in the UAE. It shows that femtech businesses in Mena accounted for only 5.8%, or 1.7 billion of the 29 billion invested in digital health in 2021 worldwide. The second statistic that I wanted to share is that according to BCG, Boston Consulting Group, if women and men participated equally as entrepreneurs, GDP could rise approximately by 3 to 6%, boosting global economy by 2.5 trillion to 5 trillion. And the last one that I want to share with you, because it's related to what you're saying as well, is that most of the investors are men, and who, due to their lack of understanding of female healthcare needs, often are reluctant to invest in female-related products. So a lot of barriers there, right, when we think about it. And it's just testament to the fact that how resilient the three of you have been in getting to where you are. So, you know, big cheers to the three of you. And I know the journey's not over yet, but we're behind you. Yasmine, I didn't forget about you. I'm bringing you into the conversation now. Your solution focuses on maternal mental health. Could you explain what are some of the specific mental health needs that arise during the journey to and through motherhood?
Absolutely. Women in their motherhood journey go through a lot of changes. So when we talk about the factors contributing to maternal mental health disorders, for example, the hormonal changes, physical changes, emotional changes, these are the internal factors that could be affecting women during this time. And on the other side, there are the external factors that are also affecting her in some way. You know, personal circumstances like the social circumstances, financial circumstances, and on a broader level, the economical and environmental circumstances and changes. Now, this puts a toll on the women who are really anywhere in their motherhood journey. For example, women trying to conceive, pregnant women, and women postpartum. And now each woman is different, but the statistics tell us, the World Health Organization tells us that around 20% of women worldwide could experience a mental health disorder before and after birth. This is 1 in 5 women, and these numbers are the reported and known ones. So there are probably other cases that were not captured, you know, in the healthcare system, where the woman probably didn't know that they had a mental health disorder or really didn't want to seek help. And also the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, the CDC, recently reported that over 80% of maternal deaths between 2017 and 2019 were preventable, and that mental health conditions were among the most frequent underlying causes of death in the US. So when we talk about women in the postpartum period, women postpartum could experience the baby blues, which are usually common after birth and usually last from birth up to around 2 weeks after delivery. And then after this period of time, around 4 to 6 weeks postpartum, women could start experiencing mental health disorders associated with the perinatal period, such as postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum psychosis. This is all exacerbated with women with a history of mental health disorders, as they are more likely to experience perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. Now, the effect maternal mental health disorders have on the woman, the child, the family, and the society are really major. Unattended to and untreated, this could be detrimental in the cases of women during their motherhood journey. It puts the mothers and their children at risk. For example, negatively impacting the child's growth and development. The mother's well-being is impacted negatively. And of course, in extreme cases, this could lead to suicide and infanticide, unfortunately, which is also, many of these numbers are not really captured, but this is why, so there's a clear need for mental health care, a need to raise awareness on the importance of mental health care. And it's also extremely important to increase awareness on the different mental health disorders in order for women to notice the signs and seek help when needed early on, if possible. It is also important to work with stakeholders to increase awareness, reduce stigma, and make it the norm to have maternal mental health care for women during their motherhood journey.
Thank you. Actually, I love the fact that you use the word maternal mental health and not just mental health, because that's very specific. When we look at the sort of the investment in clinical research and so on, this has been directed primarily to men. So we're working on systems that we're working with outcomes and systems that are geared towards men's health more directly than they are to women. So saying and labeling something as maternal mental health is really establishing a statement that this is really, what we're talking about for women.
Exactly, because it is true and it happens and it is related to the perinatal period. It's not something that happens throughout someone's life. It is related to this period. So we have to acknowledge that, and we have to know that it is important to talk about it and to really cater to this segment.
Thank you so much. Sandra, back to you. So what can be done to improve or ensure that people needing mental health support can access the services?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot to be done here. So as Yasmine was saying, Yasmine maybe is addressing one need of, women during this phase. Sira looks at your journey from 18 onwards. So there are a lot of gaps in costs. So it's still therapy until now is still very expensive everywhere in the world, and not catered to middle to low class incomes. So this is still a problem. So we have the problem of access. How do we access help? How do we access support? And normalizing it, which is, I think, for me, it's the biggest barrier. We can work around different business models to make it accessible. That's not the issue, but normalizing it and getting people to ask for help or to seek help. This is where we have to work really hard on educating, on shifting the conversation that if you take care of your mental health and in a preventive way, and this is the most important, in a preventive way before you're in a crisis, it's much better, it's less expensive, it's less costly. We can actually scale, and we can actually find, we can actually help people more than when they're in crisis points. So this is what we're doing today. So shifting the conversation from a reactive crisis kind of solution into a preventive one where we educate. None of us growing up had any kind of mental health, education. How do I deal with my marriage? What should I expect when I'm in a couple? How do I live in a couple? How do I keep my identity? How do I parent my children? Not like I was parented, and not like I watched my parents live in a couple and I replicate the same thing. So it's a lot of breaking the cycle and really stopping this generational trauma from continuing, educating people, normalizing mental health, and really being preventive in order to see an effect on societies, in order so that we have healthier societies coming up, so that we don't get the tyrants out there, or the leaders who then don't take care of their workforce, tyrants who disrupt countries, who wage wars, whatever. I mean, you can apply it at all levels. Children who are healthy, who grow up into healthy adults, and who then, continue their life in a healthy way. So it's a lot of, it's a huge battle, but it's gaining a lot of awareness, especially after COVID. People are really becoming aware, more and more aware of the importance of their mental health. At the physical level, it has an effect. So there's this direct impact. Now people are more educated that if you don't take care of your mental health, you're going to get problems, physically, health problems. And as well as, like Yasmine was saying, you don't only touch, I mean, if you don't take care of your mental health, you're not only impacting yourself, you're impacting all the people around you. So
I liked your use of the term generational trauma. That's an interesting use of the term. And I think it points to sort of the systemic nature of women being, again, excluded when it comes to the healthcare sector, right, in particular, and mental health specifically. I think you're right. COVID was, I mean, that was a time, I think, that really opened up the whole discussion around women. A mom or a woman is trying to balance her career, trying to teach her kid, she's cooking at home, you name it, right? All the pressures were there. So it is, I think, a point where we, like you said, that we learned a lot, about some of the intense barriers that could exist.
Yeah, and we're seeing one last thing, if I may, Farouk. A lot of, I mean, the first, when we launched Sira, the first customer we had were women. 85% of our database is women, or customers are women, because they're more courageous when they want to talk about their problems, and maybe because they reach crisis point, or they reach it faster than men, because they have so many different roles to keep up with. And we're raised to think that we're perfect. We have to be perfect at all those roles. So there's really a big need to now include men into the discussion. In the Middle East, men grow up, they have to bottle their emotions. You're supposed to be strong, hold it all together all the time. You're not supposed to be in touch with your emotions. So there's a lot of work on women and letting women have a voice, but also including, extending this help and support to men who are also, pillars of society and pillars of the family. So they both have to be healed so that we stop generational trauma, as you were saying.
And I think part of the support that women might need, right, across their own health journeys as well, able to understand that, able to support a woman's journey throughout her life. So definitely. Doreen, so can you share any insights about the adoption and uptake of your solution? And is there something specific in your approach that you can attribute this to?
Yes. So first of all, we are a kind of hybrid type of company. We realized immediately that there was a need for this because we are operating in countries where there's just so little education and there are so many conservative issues. So we're taking on the job that a lot of nonprofits or governments would usually be taking care of. So when we started as a community. It was an Instagram page, basically. And immediately we started posting a lot of information that was relevant, that was based on research that we did. Within a couple of months, we started to realize that we just became a resource that no one else had seen before. So just so you know, we are based in Greece. We are already starting in Portugal and in Lebanon. So we're already seeing this movement happening in all of these different countries. And the problems are exactly the same. There's just very, very little knowledge and understanding, and also a big fear in addressing these because there's nobody to really talk to. So we started to get messages from students that are living in some town, someplace that have nobody to speak to. And we realized that we need actually healthcare professionals to support us. So we were very lucky that we were able to get doctors who were giving free advice and us doing all the emailing between them, so that these young people could actually know what to do with their lives. And I think this is really what worked the best, because we gained trust and we were there not judging somebody and allowing them to ask even the most basic questions that you would imagine anybody would know. And we realized actually, even a lot of older people, they really don't know much. So the support that we're offering, which is kind of like a support that you would imagine a nonprofit would do, we still do as a company. And then we also provide the services to basically provide the full experience and the full circle, and to offer everything from a prescription that they might need to a doctor they might need to go and see in person. And I guess that's kind of been what has worked the most for us so far.
One of the attributes you mentioned was trust. Can you say a little bit more about that in sort of working with your solution?
Well, I mean, we're talking about mostly younger people who have had sexual experiences that their family and other people are not supposed to know about, right? So there's a lot of confidentiality here that we need to really make sure we keep. This is why when we talk about what we do, we talk about self-care, control, basically over your health and your body, and privacy. So we make sure that every test that we send out, there are no names involved in any of this, so they can feel completely that they can trust us, that we will not let any of this information harm them in any way. And at the same time, these people have, many of them basically go to a doctor once or twice, they feel judged, they feel shamed, and then they stop going. And this is where the problem really starts. So they've already accepted that there isn't somebody there for them. So they've already given up. And you really need to, put a doctor in front of them, be the kind of facilitator before that, and to try to rebuild that trust in the healthcare system, because it has failed them many times. So yeah, it's absolutely necessary. They're not going to open up to you, and over time they will not be using your services if they can't trust you in the first place, that you're there for them and you're not just doing it for money.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Thank you, Doreen. We don't have a lot of time left, I believe, Jerry, but maybe if I can just use the last couple of minutes to ask you each. So looking back on your journey so far, is there a key lesson or a piece of advice that you think that would have been beneficial to you and could help other female entrepreneurs if you had known it from the start? So let's start. Who wants to go first? Let me start with you, Yasmine.
Sure. So these are maybe tips or suggestions or things that really helped along the way. So number one is focus on your cause. Focus on what and who you are doing this for. Keep going. You might not see results soon, so not in days, weeks, or even months, but trust that you will soon see the fruition of your hard work. Believe in yourself and be confident in what you are doing. And when pitching your idea or startup to investors, customers, and partners, make sure you find the right team, finding someone that has the same values, that has the same mindset, that believes in finding a solution to the problem you are trying to solve. And finally, don't be afraid to ask for help, support, connections, and of course, funding if and when you need them.
Thank you. Sandra?
Yes, I would say if you have a dream to change something, don't wait. We think that it's not me who's gonna change, it's gonna be somebody else or some big corporation out there, or the big techs. But no, we can do a big difference. We should just start somewhere. and it starts small. I would have never imagined myself a founder for a startup. I just started small. I started with myself and the community around me, and it grew. So just decide to start. That's the first advice. Second, focus on one thing. We tend, when we get on this journey, we tend to want to do everything and solve everybody's problems at the same time. So just focus on one thing and do it so well, so that you really nail it, and take care of yourself. I mean, this is a priority. You can't start anything or embark on any project, on a startup, if you don't take care of yourself. You'll crash. Your project will crash.
I
Doreen.
mean, they've said it all already. There's so little you could say after this point. I just want to say, especially in our case, I got some really good advice recently, and it was about knowing that some people will come against you, especially if you're talking about taboo subjects, and to always have a positive outlook. So never to look like you're being defensive.
Thank you, Doreen. So look, I know that we're all at the end, Jerry, of this conversation. I just wanted to say that I hope everyone who's listening, and the three of you will agree with me that women's health needs require a revolution, or a revolution, if you will. And please join me in thanking the panelists who frankly show me every day what resilience is all about, and who have persisted and come this far and have never given up. So thank you so much. And thank you for letting me be part of this panel as well.
Thank you for your support. Thank you.
No, a really, really wonderful panel there, Farouk. And thank you, Doreen, Sandra, and Yasmine, for all being on. I know it's a little bit more late over there, but some really, really powerful and inspiring stories, I think, not just for the female founders and entrepreneurs of the audience that are watching, but I think for everybody that's tuned in today, for sure. So we really appreciate you all coming on, sharing your stories and insights, and hope to have you back again, of course. So thank you, Farouk, for organizing the panel, and thank you guys for being on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, fantastic. And that's a really nice round off to our Women's Health Tech track for today. I'm going to hand back to Stan now, who's going to, I think, be interviewing Varun Ramdevan from Johnson & Johnson. So Stan, over to you.
That's fantastic, Jerry. And what a great session too. Just tremendous expertise, and thank you to the panel.